All right, guys, Coach Chad back again. Today we're talking about the loaded RDL as a mobility aid, of course, as a strength aid, but in this case, primarily as a strength with mobility, so mobility strength aid. So all it is essentially a hip hinge. Okay, you're gonna keep your chin up, slide the dumbbells down your thighs, and reach as far as you can, stretching out that posterior chain. Now, I like to do this with a slightly bent knee. You can do it with a locked out knee as well, okay, especially not under a lot of load. I'm not a fan with heavy load with a straight leg, but a slight knee bend and controlled knee bend is gonna be just as powerful. And over time, you wanna be able to have the capacity to be able to get your dumbbells all the way down the floor, or maybe even past if you were standing on an elevated surface. Now, you'll note that I'm not keeping a perfect spinal position while doing this, but I'm not all that concerned about it. I don't want it to be just this, of course not. I want to be moving about the hip primarily, but to continue getting that end range and trying to get that extra couple degrees, if that requires me to go a little bit deeper with a little bit of back bend, I'm okay with that. Again, as long as the load is appropriate. Now, right now, I only have 5-pound dumbbells per hand. I think I could easily do this with 20 or 30 or 40 pounds, but I want to do this for very high repetitions. So think somewhere between 20 and 40 repetitions of this exercise is where you'd want to be, and only focusing on strength mobility, okay? Now, for some people, that might just be limited to this. That's fine. Then you train and stretch within whatever range you have. For me, this is a position that I'm fairly flexible in, so I can really push this range of motion. I want to think about connecting my feet to the floor while pushing my hips back as far as possible. Try not to be too dynamic in this exercise, meaning we're not bouncing a ton, okay? When you're in those deep ranges of motion with a hamstring, they're on a deep stretch, we want to make sure that we're being controlled in our stretch. So I like coming down, holding for 1, 2, 3, and then back up. So a little hold, a little more time in that position is fantastic, all right? And then you're also welcome to play with this in slightly different positions. So having a wider stance, exact same mechanics, right? You'll feel it just a little bit differently. How about a little bit wider yet, moving into more of a sumo position, okay? Again, you're gonna feel a little bit more adductor, you're gonna feel a different range of motion. You might find that the ground comes a lot quicker, obviously, in these positions, so maybe you have to stand on something, all right? Or maybe you just hold the dumbbells close to your chest if they're light enough. It doesn't really matter, but you're just moving through these ranges, creating strength mobility, all right? You can play around with head positions, chin up, which I always find gets me a deeper hamstring stretch because I start to force my upper back into a stronger position, forcing my hips back. Just a nice little cue that I like to use, okay? But it's very dependent on you. But then this is a nice standing pancake variation of a stretch that brings in the adductors and the medial hamstring. So you guys play with this in all different ranges. Have fun, guys.